Earlier this year, Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks in WWE, signed for AEW in what is reportedly a big money deal. And since then, Mercedes Moné has gone on a run in AEW holding the TBS Championship, and it's been a divisive run to say the least. Divisive in the fact that it's had its ups and downs, and Mercedes Moné's run in AEW has had its fair share of criticism. Mercedes Moné has had 10 matches in AEW so far, and hey, I'm Top 10 Wrestling, so here's a chance for me to do an extremely rare 10 list for a video. We're going to go through Mercedes Moné's AEW run in order by watching all 10 of her matches and reviewing them with my honest thoughts. And then at the end, we'll talk about the true reason why Mercedes Moné's run in AEW hasn't been working for some people. So, like the video, and let's begin. Mercedes Moné's debut match in AEW was of course against Willow Nightingale at Double or Nothing 2024, with this being a rematch between the two from New Japan Strong Resurgence, where Willow beat Mercedes for the New Japan Strong Women's title, in a match where Mercedes Moné was meant to win but got injured, so the plan was changed and Willow got the win. This is Mercedes Moné's first match back since that injury, and it's a rematch straight away with Willow Nightingale, who she is seeking revenge on. We get a special Mercedes Moné entrance with an inspirational video package to open and neon drummers and dancers. The crowd are hot for this match and there's dueling chants. Mercedes gets control early and looks to have shaken off that ring rust, but Willow gets in control and starts walking her down the ring and hitting some big power moves. We get a gut wrench powerbomb to Mercedes Moné, which folds her and continues to dominate her with a German before they exchange submissions, and just as Mercedes looks for the comeback, Willow catches her with the pounce. Willow then targets the injured knee, but Mercedes fights on, hitting Meteoras, and Willow hits the powerbomb in the ring and has the 3 count, but Stokely has the ref distracted and it's a near fall in the end. Mercedes hits the Moné Maker shortly after and gets the win to win her debut match and the TBS title. This was a great match and a great showing for Mercedes Moné to me. There were some botches and some sloppy moments, but it was her first match back from a major injury, so I'll allow it here, and overall, this was a brilliant contest anyway. Her next match would be 3 days later against Sky Blue on AEW Dynamite on the 29th of May. This match happening after Sky Blue attacked her during her title coronation, which opened the show. This was a fast-paced matchup, getting into the action very quickly. The match was a lot more refined and more safe than the last one was, as it was less spot heavy, and you know, it's a TV match, it's more simple than a pay-per-view blockbuster match is gonna be. Last third of the match is very back and forth, with CEO constantly finding reversals, and she gets the win with the Moné Maker. Good solid match here, I really enjoyed it, good stuff from both girls, and good to see Moné mix it up with a homegrown AEW talent in a first time ever matchup. But she's got another New Japan rematch coming up next, as Stephanie Vaquer comes out after this match to stare her down post-match. And it's going to be the two of them facing off at Forbidden Door for both title belts that they're holding. Before we get there though, Moné would face Vaquer's tag partner Zeus 2 weeks later on the 12th of June Dynamite. Another fairly fast-paced matchup and also quite hard-hitting compared to the other two matches. Good aerial offense from Zeus to CEO throughout the match, as Zeus dominates for a good portion of the match and always has an answer for Mercedes Moné whenever she attempts to find a counter. Mercedes gets back into the match using her knees to get some offense in, and Mercedes goes for the Three Amigos, but Zeus hits a crazy double underhook lung blower. She then goes for the moonsault, but CEO rolls out the way and hits the Moné Maker to win the match for a great finish and a great match here in my opinion. Nice fun match for TV and into the build for the Stephanie Vaquer match, which we're going to get onto right now, as her match with Stephanie Vaquer at Forbidden Door is up next, and these two did actually face off before AEW. Like I said, this is a rematch from New Japan. They faced each other on the same show that the Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale match happened, as they was all part of a one-night tournament, and Mercedes Moné got the win first time round in that match with Stephanie, but this time it's a double title match and the stakes are much higher. It's a quick start as they're trying to one-up each other in arm drags, and Vaquer starts starts showing off her aerial prowess with a great combination in the corner and then a huge dive to the outside. Vaquer mostly controlled the match following that, but Mercedes catches her with a mid-air dropkick to get back into it. She goes for the Monet Maker, but it's reversed with a weirdly sold DDT, and they continue exchanging counters in a sloppy sequence which was quite botchy before they both lariat each other to take each other out, and they get back into it exchanging crossfaces / statement makers, with Stephanie Vaquer reversing the statement maker into a gut buster, and Vaquer continues to dominate after reversing a frog splash and getting numerous near falls. But Mercedes Moné reverses a pin attempt into a Monet Maker and into the statement maker right away to get Stephanie to tap in a great finishing sequence. I think this was a great match overall and maybe my favourite match I'd seen so far. There was lots of moments and spots to talk about that got my attention, and though it was sloppy for a bit of it in the middle, this was a great match overall. And Stephanie Vaquer came out looking great, but after the match, Moné is confronted by the returning Dr. Britt Baker DMD, and with that, it's time to start building to their all-in match. Next up for Mercedes Moné though is her match against Nyla Rose on the 17th of July Dynamite, and it's a different style of matchup here as it's a David versus Goliath match for Mercedes, who's up against a larger opponent, and Mercedes facing a day one AEW talent here. Mercedes is in control for the first half of this match as she's actually dominating her larger opponent. Nyla gets back into it post picture in picture though and starts hitting some power moves on Mercedes like a cannonball in the corner. Mercedes uses her speed to her advantage and makes a comeback and hits a bulldog off the top. And Mercedes goes for the lockjaw with her own CEO glove, but Nyla Rose bites her, so Mercedes turns it around into a statement maker and gets her to tap out there for the win. She's attacked after the match by Britt Baker, who's posing as a fan in the crowd, but they're separated by referees as they build up to their match. This match was fine, I guess. It was a very bog standard TV match, one of the more forgettable matches on this list. Anyway, we've got one last stop before All In, as on the 14th of August Dynamite, Mercedes Moné faced Hikaru Shida in one last title defense before the show. By this time, Mercedes now has Camille as her muscle, and she's a full-time heel at this point. And this match is very fast-paced, no breaks, it's just full gas going straight from spot to spot from the very moment this match began. And hey, the crowd are also super hot for this match as it's very back and forth and hard hitting and strike heavy as well, as both are using their knees for offense. And Shida makes a comeback on Moné by hitting a brutal jumping knee, and CEO returns the favor with a Meteora. Mercedes goes for the Three Amigos, but Shida reverses it into a Falcon Arrow, which Mercedes just about kicks out of. The crowd are really into this match throughout, like I said, as Mercedes Moné gets the win here as she hits the Monet Maker following a distraction from Camille. The Monet Maker doesn't look great this time round, but for me, this is Mercedes Moné's best AEW TV match up to this point. And her and Hikaru Shida absolutely delivered here, but after the match, Britt Baker comes out to attack the CEO, and she stands tall going into All In, and with that being said, I guess it's time to bite the bullet and watch what is potentially the lowest reviewed match for Mercedes Moné so far in AEW, as it's Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker from All In at Wembley. Mercedes Moné with a royalty entrance as man like Darius dances on in the background, and it's a decent start with some chain wrestling and submissions, with Britt attempting the lockjaw on numerous occasions early on. Mercedes takes control with a backbreaker on the top rope. This has been actually a pretty nice start to the match so far, and Mercedes has control from here and actually manages to hit a Three Amigos, which is very rare to see. The crowd aren't really hot for this match at all. There's DMD and CEO chants at times, but they're both being chanted over each other at the same time, so they just sound like CM Punk chants. It's a back and forth match, but the match really breaks down after the first minute or two, and there's just chunks of time during this match where it just feels like there is nothing going on, and like I said, the crowd are pretty dead for it too, so that doesn't help. There was one really cool spot though, with Britt Baker reversing a top rope body slam, which got the crowd excited. That was an awesome spot. But from here, it's ref distractions, Camille getting ejected, and the match has its moments for sure. A few little good spots and moments where the crowd get excited a bit, but other than that, there's mostly nothing going on in the match. Mercedes Moné gets the win with the Moné Maker, and yeah man, this match isn't great because of all the reasons I said, and it was quite sloppy and botchy at times. But a bit of a hot take, though it isn't good, I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. It suffered in big part because of the crowd and its placement on the card, and once again, it's not a good match. It's really not. But I don't actually think it's the worst match on the list, honestly. After the match though, a lot of AEW fans were saying they should have just done the Shida match on this show, and AEW would look to sort of right that wrong, I guess, as Mercedes Moné and Hikaru Shida would rematch at All Out, and let's see if this can be as good as their TV match was, which I think was an amazing match. It's a nice start to the match as they're getting into it quickly, and Shida's in control early, but Mercedes obviously makes her comeback and eventually slows the match down after a fast-paced first act. There's a good few minutes of rest holds right after as the match slows right down. It's rest hold into a quick comeback tease and straight back into rest hold for a few minutes. On their feet again, they have a strike exchange in the middle of the ring where Shida gets the upper hand. She hits a knee that folds Moné, but Mercedes uses her knees right back, hitting her signature Meteora on Hikaru Shida, and she then goes to the Three Amigos, and once again, she actually gets all three. What is going on? Is there something in the air? Her frog splash attempt is reversed though as Shida gets the knees up and hits the Falcon Arrow immediately, and then another Falcon Arrow, and then another one for a big near fall. Moné makes the comeback and hits the backstabber, which is no sold by Shida, who hits a German on Moné, and then another big running knee for a near fall as Shida hits a katana, which didn't look very impactful, and commentary say it's because of her knee, which Moné has targeted, but then right after she sits Mercedes back up and hits another katana that she got all of and looked a lot more brutal, so I'm guessing the first one just wasn't sold correctly. She then hits a third katana, which once again doesn't look good, and Mercedes Moné kicks out at one for a not very well executed fighting spirit spot. Shida then brings in the kendo stick for some reason and teases using it but throws it away, and Mercedes then looks for the Moné Maker and is able to hit it after a bit of fight from Shida, and she gets the win here to retain the TBS title. Man, this match just didn't really deliver in the end for me. I'm kinda disappointed after how good their first match was. It really broke down towards the end especially, and Shida kinda came out looking weak after getting most of the offense in, hitting like 6 finishes on her, and then losing after only 1 finisher from Moné. Their first match was undoubtedly a lot better and a lot more polished than this one was, and a bit of a hot take, but I honestly think that the Britt Baker match was better. Not by a lot obviously, but I was rolling my eyes less during that one than I was during this one. Next up should face Emi Sakura on the 8th of October Dynamite, and it's the hard-hitting and grittiness of Emi Sakura versus the speed and agility of Mercedes Moné in this one. Mercedes uses her speed to her advantage, but Emi Sakura is finding counters for Mercedes Moné and getting some good offense in by just dodging her running and aerial attacks. Emi Sakura hits a splash to both Mercedes and Camille, who are against the barricade, and then hits a double underhook backbreaker in the ring. Mercedes distracts the ref and Camille takes advantage, tripping up Emi, and Mercedes Moné gets the statement maker to get the win, and Mercedes and Camille look to attack her after the match, but Chris Statlander makes the save. A decent TV match here. And finally, we've got to Mercedes Moné's most recent match, which is from the 16th of October Dynamite against Queen Aminata. Aminata is in control early, but after Camille gets involved, Mercedes Moné is able to hit a Meteora to Aminata, who is sat against the steps in a brutal spot. Mercedes Moné continues firmly in control through picture-in-picture, as Queen Aminata uses her power and strength advantage for the comeback with an air raid crash and a unique submission attempt, but Mercedes Moné gets back into it after a Meteora and hits the backstabber and statement maker to retain the belt and win again in another decent match. So yeah, overall that concludes it for all 10 matches. This is how I'd rank them all on screen right now, and overall I'll say that Mercedes Moné has a very stellar match catalogue so far in AEW. There's 1 or 2 matches I'd say aren't good, and another 1 or 2 that I could say are forgettable, but overall Mercedes Moné has a very good record with TV matches, and though her last 2 pay-per-view matches didn't deliver, her matches with Willow Nightingale and Stephanie Vaquer are standout great matches. But the main issue with why Mercedes Moné in AEW hasn't been working for a lot of people despite having a good match catalogue, to me at least, is because of her microphone and character work, which just feels out of place on the show. Mercedes Moné undoubtedly has the in-ring work to shine in AEW and is in the upper echelon of the AEW roster strictly in-ring wise, but her mic work and her character work has divided fans because AEW fans feel as though it's out of place and it's the type of stuff you'd see in WWE and not AEW, whereas non-fans of AEW critique it because it's just not great, to be honest, and a lot of the promos to me have felt too overly scripted and robotic and just not natural. And booking / storyline wise, well, she's currently in a feud with Chris Statlander, which has had storyline progression each week, but it's been hit or miss, I'd say. The segment last night on AEW Dynamite just wasn't good at all, and Camille got done dirty. But last week there was that moment where Statlander speared them both through a wall, and that was great. I'm sure the match will most likely deliver, but the feud overall has been average. I think the solution though is to just book her to wrestle more on TV. If her promos aren't hitting on TV right now, then just let her wrestle. She's a proven TV wrestler, and her catalogue of TV matches for AEW so far is a very good one. I mean, after all, she's the TBS champion, so how about we have her wrestle on TBS more, for the love of God? I mean, AEW didn't even book her on Wrestle Dream. Like, she didn't even get booked on a pay-per-view. The last pay-per-view she wasn't even on, and they've spent reportedly a lot of money on Mercedes Moné to bring her into AEW, and if you're spending money like that, then use her. Like, that's the bare minimum. She should be doing something every week that's meaningful. And though yes, I think Mercedes Moné, her promos and stuff that she's doing on TV haven't delivered a lot of the time, a lot of it can also be blamed in part to AEW's booking, who aren't playing to her strengths and just booking her to wrestle on TBS as the TBS champion. We need more of that, please. But anyway, that's it from me on this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Mercedes Moné's run in AEW so far and what they should do to fix it and change it. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more wrestling content. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye and keep on rolling.